All right, we're back. Episode 4, Between the Tusk. Chris Boyd, as always, on the baseball podcast with Brett Kincaid. Brett, again, thanks for hopping on and give us some baseball knowledge.
Yeah, happy to talk about it. Hopefully, we're turning the corner on the season. I'm afraid we're bad luck, Chris.
Well, I mean, I feel better this week than I did this time last week because we actually won our midweek game.
Yeah, which you say that tongue in cheek, but it is something. Winning breeds confidence, so everybody feels a little better after a win, even if it was, you know, uh, not the prettiest, especially those first 3.5 innings before we surely started hitting the ball consistently. And taking her walks and kind of looking more like a disciplined team offensive pitching wise. You can't say anything about it. It was a great performance by everybody on the mound.
Agree. And yeah, it was tongue in cheek. UALR is not a bad baseball program, so
No, not at all.
nothing wrong with that win at all.
And it's an
Um,
in-state game. They want to win. They have a big series coming up this weekend. We wanted to win. We had a big series coming up this weekend. Obviously, I think everybody noted Gackle coming in pitching
yeah,
relief
yeah,
on a Tuesday, pretty well indicated. I think we were texting during the game, like I think we pretty well know he ain't starting on
no,
Friday now, which is well, I know we'll get to later, but like there was some news kind of made just by the fact that we saw some things that we haven't seen during the middle of the week all season.
Well, and when he came in, I think I even sent you a text that I said, "Well, you called this last week."
Well, yeah, we kind of knew that Auburn was his Rubicon moment. Like you're either gonna lock down that opening starter Friday night guy, or we're gonna have to try something else. And he looked good for 2 innings, and then we had to try something else.
Well, I mean, so before we get into the big shakeup, I mean, let's talk about that Auburn series because I mean, we started Thursday, and I'll be honest, I kind of felt good for a little bit, and then I mean, the wheels didn't just fall off; the wheels caught on fire and exploded.
Well, and you look, we were looking at the box score earlier, talking about it, and Gak started out pretty well.
Yeah,
He got into the fifth, but he couldn't get a single out in the fifth. Um, and you could see his body language. He was clearly disappointed. He's upset with himself. I know he feels bad about letting the team down because, as soon as you crack that bullpen open, it kind of we got spoiled early in the season with Gibbler coming in and just throwing lasers.
mm,
And he's, hit a bit of a midseason slump to some degree. I mean, we were looking at that fifth inning and it was just, Gak just walk to start out. And then it's just single, error, single, like just death by 1,000 cuts. And all of a sudden
mm,
you've dropped 7 runs and you just kind of shell shocked.
yeah.
To come back and win Saturday or Friday rather was pretty impressive, frankly, just with how big of a bomb that fifth inning was on Thursday. Because
Well, and
we were
and
just, it was like everything was going, like you said, everything was rolling fine and the wheels fell off, the car caught fire, hit a tree, fell in a ditch, all the things all at once.
blew up,
Yeah, it was,
then rolled off a cliff.
rolled off a cliff with everybody in it. Um,
Well,
it
so let's win on Friday,
yeah,
lose on
Deets,
Saturday,
great.
but let's talk
You
about that. I mean, let me pull up Dietz.
okay.
I mean, Dietz is a dude.
He is. He
Um,
is. I'll be. We talked about this in a little bit last week about the Baseball America draft rankings. They'll update that again in May. He may be a top 50 target by the end of the season. He's just. We talked about this last week about how because he'd been uneven against Florida. He's been feast or famine to some degree. Um, he ate big on Friday though, and it's because I still think he just hasn't pitched competitively for 2 years outside of some mop up work at the end of last season.
mm.
So he's kind of getting in that rhythm again. He's starting to feel like the man, and he's starting to pitch like it too.
Well, and you said it early on. I mean, his ERA would probably be hovering around 3 or maybe slightly below. He had some real bad luck early on, and you were like, yeah, this isn't indicative. A little
That
bad
Mississippi
luck.
State game really stands out. Just the
Yeah.
wind was cutting across the field as it does that time of year coming out of the South, and it just blew that ball that should have been a fly ball to deep-ish left center. It just pushed that sucker all the way to the bullpen across the field. I mean, otherwise you're out of the inning, and then it just kind of unraveled at that point. I think he got frustrated, but again, he hadn't been in the fight for a couple of
That's
years. He hadn't had to figure out how to find that extra gear, and I think he has.
And I think you're right. He's hitting his stride.
Yeah.
But that ERA really should probably be a 3, a 2.95, something like that. That's how he's been pitching.
Yeah. But you look at the other numbers, ERA can be misleading. We talked about this last week too, about, defensive alignment and capabilities. Arkansas for the last few years, our pitching staff has probably benefited and seen their numbers a little bit better because the defense has been so good. Defense is pretty mid this year, still ranked 7th in the conference at a 977. Last year, what did I say? We were, I think, 985 last year, like a huge gap. Those numbers mean a lot of difference in fielding percentage as a team. But you look at these numbers here, he's 218 batting against, and those numbers are dropping. That whip, he's not walking guys. And the strikeouts, I mean, look at that. I mean, the strikeouts are eye-popping. You got a 15 K per 9 rate. That's high-end reliever territory.
And nobody's getting any elevation.
Yeah. That's a good point. I was looking at those at the distribution. He only has the 1 home run he's given up all year. He's got like 60% of the balls in play are ground balls. He is really pitching low in the zone, got a heavy fastball, and he's mixing his pitches now. He's starting to get the feel. I mean, he is still young. He is still getting back in the rhythm. I don't want to just assume now that he's going to be able to throw up 6 and 7 1-run or less, type of outings. But you feel like the potential is there now, and you don't feel that way with Gabe, which is why I think we saw Dave make the switch.
Yeah. Well, let's before we kind of go into these matchups with Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
It's still standing out. I'm going to pull up some stats here. I think I texted you last Thursday night and I said, what do we do that's good?
Yeah.
We can't get deep into counts. We can't walk. We have struck out 10 plus strikeouts in 11 of 12 SEC games.
Yeah, and that one we didn't. We had 9 against South Carolina.
There's no rhythm offensively at all. There's no
patience. And we heard Troy talk about a little bit on the television broadcast, I think on Tuesday, about when you're struggling, everybody's trying to do too much. The ball looks small. You're over eager. You got to do something. You want to be the guy that kind of gets gets the team rolling. And we've got one player right now that we can say reliably does that, and that's Ryder Helfrich. And then Rutenbar is certainly coming to his own. We're looking at his numbers earlier, and his on base. He's damn near 500 on base right now since he started playing regularly. He has got a good slug, and it was around 800 slug, even though he's got just the 1 homer. He's getting extra base hits, taking the extra base too. So there is a bit of a spark plug. That's why I think there's some hope there. But to your point, Chris, like the older guys are the ones that have to step up.
Okay.
And stop striking out.
Let's talk about the older guys. Upperclassmen struggles in SEC play. Reese Robinette, he's hitting $186.
Had a big hit on Tuesday against Little Rock, non-SEC competition. But again, you hope that that's a feeling he can carry over. He really has not given us much.
Cam, the guy that had been our steady SEC play, 167.
And he, I saw it today. That's almost half exactly where he was this time last year in conference play last year. He hit 333 in conference last season. And so there's a book on, I know you got some more numbers, but it's like pause just to say, like, clearly, there are 15 other coaches in this league who are also damn good at their job.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they've got analysts and they've got scouts and they've got grad assistants that are looking to figure out how to get you out. And they found some holes. They've learned how to pitch these guys. And so now it's our turn to adjust.
Cahillo, SEC play, $147.
And that's because we talked about this a few times on this show about how his numbers belie what we see, but he also kind of front loaded some of that because his overall stats for the year pretty good. They're not what we're expecting, but that the problem is that slug is only at 430. That is not what you need out of a DH. You're expecting to get 15 home runs out of. He only has 5 home runs on the year. And the swing and miss is just 27 strikeouts in 29 games.
Speaking of your lack of power from your expected power hitters, Zach Stewart, who can mash the ball.
Oh gosh, he hits the ball so hard.
$140 in SEC play.
Yeah, and he's at 273 on the season. He's got the 6 home runs. He got the one to put him at 50 for the season. That was a big deal. Maybe that was a mental block, or 50 on his career rather. Yeah, maybe that was a mental block. Now that it's over, he'll swing. His swing will relax. But you bring him in, and you expect he or Cahillo to lock down right field and the other to DH for the most part. Even if you had to platoon Zach, you expect him to be in there most of the time against right-handed pitchers. It's just you got 11 home runs between the two of them. And they're both playing every day. It's not like they're platooning. So there clearly is, as you pointed out, like the swing and miss is real. The inability to hit quality pitching is real. And Dave said this week that of all these players, the 2 that he mentioned, or 2 that you've highlighted as well, you got to get Cam and you got to get Eloy. Those 2 guys have got to start coming through. If you can start getting something in the top half of the lineup, you can survive the ups and downs of the bottom 4 batters in the lineup. But you got to get something out of those top 2, and we're just getting nothing.
Well, and I'm going to take words out of your mouth. I mean, Ryder's going to start getting the Barry Bonds treatment if nobody else is hitting.
Yeah,
you're just going to put him in every.
I mean, would you, if you know there are 1 or 2 guys in the opposing lineup that can hurt you, would you pitch to the one guy?
No,
especially in a game against somebody like Dietz where runs are going to be at a premium.
I mean,
I wouldn't give Ryder a chance to beat me.
It's like a basketball team that can't shoot threes. I just sit in the zone, just let them jack them up.
Yeah, because we're definitely going to swing at him.
With Ryder, I would put him on base and force everybody else to hit.
Yeah. I mean, it's he is a one-man wrecking crew. He's really in his bag right now too.
I mean,
so
everything.
The ball. He's the only player on the team where the ball looks big.
He's making people pay. That double that he stretched to a triple. Can't remember if they rolled out an error, if it was just
it was a double and an error, but it was borderline. I mean, I think his aggression helped exacerbate things.
I mean, I knew he could move. I didn't realize he had wheels like that. I'm just going to be honest. I mean,
he's a premium athlete. He's obviously a good receiver. He's got to work on his release time at the next level, but he's also catching pitchers that are throwing the balls in the dirt a lot. I mean, it's I suppose it's easier to catch, elite throwers. But when you've got guys that are having a hard time putting the ball over the plate, it makes it harder on your catcher, obviously, to stop everything. It wears you out too. And the stolen bases are a combination of pitcher and catcher, but we're quibbling at what this guy clearly is the heart and soul of the team is doing. He is the only reason that this team has is close to 500 in conference play right now.
Do you think? I don't even know what you do. I mean, Dave has made the switch up with the pitching staff, but do you see a switch up in the order or lineup? I mean, I don't even know what you do.
I think the order is something that'll probably be moved around here and there. I think until Ruiz comes back, you are limited in what you can do. I still personally like Rutenbar at first and Reese at third. I think that Pompey has been very good at third base, but he's started. He's carrying the bat to the field, and that's a problem. That's why we saw Brumbaugh have to take a seat, because he was taking those things that the struggles at the plate to the field. So that's a concern. But you got to play with what you got. You got to help. As part of the job as a coach is to help guys overcome, and they've got to figure out ways to get them on track. And the outfield, New saves you as many as he costs you in center. So I think he's solid, rock solid there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Obviously you want Ruiz back. The question, because I don't think you can put Rutenbaugh on left. I think it's just a real. We've seen it. It's just unnatural for him. So that means you're looking at Turner, and who's hitting a solid 250. And it's just. You're not getting much out of it. So I think there are pieces you can move around, but I don't think there aren't enough that we've seen. We're not at practice; we don't see what they see day to day. But absent somebody really coming on and those live action during the week, I don't know what else you can really do, except maybe restack. I think Rudenbar's locked down the one. I think the question is, do you put Cam second, or do you alternate? Because you may not want to go lefty at the top of the order. Maybe you move Ryder to number 2, and just see if you can front load some production, and maybe that gets Cam some opportunities to start driving the ball in, driving runs in. I mean, because I like Cam as the 2, but I don't like going lefty at the top of the order.
Well, I don't know. Yes, Cam just kind of seems like a natural 2 to me, but
yeah, I agree. Especially if he's can. I mean, we don't have the luxury of getting in conversation with these kids and kind of seeing what they're seeing, understanding what their difficulties are. From afar, though, we're looking at somebody's chasing that he hasn't chased, and also now somebody's having a hard time catching up to speed in the middle. Like, is he dealing with an injury? Is he just in his own head to the point that he's just completely, flummoxed and he just can't identify pitches? Does he have a vision problem? Like, there are all manner of things that it might be. You have to trust that somebody who's done it before will find it. We saw this, I remember, in that 22 season rather. Robert Moore, he was out of sorts most of the year, and he had a brilliant year in 21. So sometimes you just have a regression, and now Robert Moore is at AAA for the Phillies org. So, like, you can clearly still find it. You just got to hope Cam finds it before the season runs out.
Well, going into Alabama this weekend.
Yeah.
Woo. We got the major shakeup. We've already talked about it. We knew when we saw, Gabe on Tuesday, okay, we figured it, but we know he's not starting. Probably knew was moving Hunter to Friday night just because he's a dude.
Yeah.
You mentioned this, but I guess I was still a little. I don't think you were surprised. I guess I was a little surprised that Gilbert's going to be the Saturday starter. What did you think about that?
I kind of figured he would be, especially because you got an extra day of rest this week. He hadn't pitched since Thursday. there was probably talk early, in camp that he would end up being the guy. But the next guy, I guess, but Fish had started out so well, kind of made sense. And Gabe, had started out fine the beginning of the year, and really that we've seen Dave do this over the years, where you just stack Friday, and you run your ace, and then you run your co-ace on Friday, because you want to get that. You want to lock down Friday and avoid the sweep, which is what he's been so successful doing.
Yeah.
And then you have a solid two, and you figure it out on Sunday. That's basically what we're doing now. It's just inverted. I think you'll see Dietz go as long as Dietz can go, and then based on game situation, do you go to Gabe, or do you need to bring in somebody else because you've got a big lead or you're getting hammered? Kind of manage the weekend after Dietz. And then Gibbler, I mean, we really won't know until we know, right? Like, he hasn't started. His stuff is elite. He gave up a bunch of singles against Auburn, but he also came in with two runners on in a situation that was pretty combustible. So give him a chance, but maybe that's where you see Gibbler and then you see Gak. They just role reverse each other. And then Sunday, man, I don't know what the hell they're going to do.
So going to be my question to you. Do you think we still see Colin for an inning or two and then just bullpen it out the rest of the way? Or do you think we see a completely fresh face?
Well, I don't know that there is a completely fresh face, but I think you'll see McElwain at the back end of games. I think he's pretty well. We got to get to him, but I think he's kind of become that guy. You look at the guys that pitched on Tuesday. These are guys that nobody pitched a lot. So obviously you'll see Gabe. I think Tate McGuire is still a guy who can be useful for you, either to eat up innings or to come in and get out a right-handed batter who has a hard time with off-speed stuff, because his slider is real. Tate says. So I think you got a chance to see some productive outside of him. Steele Eves, you can't give up on Steele. He's done it in the past. He's had a little bit of a bump. So I think he's another weapon. I don't know that we'll see him starting. We did that against Missouri State and to not go super well. So maybe, I don't know. Fish is still lingering. I think he's an option, but I think it's depending on how you've done how you manage the bullpen leading up to Sunday. I think it's kind of like, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Fish starts. It depends on also how Alabama decides to stack its lineup. Maybe you go with an opener situation, like you see in Major League sometimes, where you just, Fish, I need you to get me through the first.
Right.
And then we're going to switch it out, and we're going to go, everybody gets at least two batters, and we'll see how you're doing.
Well, so I'm going to back up a little bit. McElwain just seems like he has good stuff.
Yeah.
Seems like if he keeps pitching well, would we see him as that second guy on a Friday night after Dietz?
Well, I think what we don't know, because we just haven't seen him enough, I'm going to pull up his numbers. McElwain, he's got an 0.55 ERA, which, that's crazy. But he only has 9 appearances in 16 innings. That's what I was trying to figure out.
Not a ton.
But that just, to me, that tells me that they know what he is. He's a short relief guy. I don't think he's a guy that you can come in and expect to give you 3.
Okay.
I think he's a guy that you come in situational lefty or to close out a game. And maybe he can get you 4 outs, but he is not. They haven't used him as a long arm yet, and I just don't imagine they're going to start, because they feel. I feel like the coaches believe they have somebody that can take over the 9th inning, and this team's going to be playing a lot of close games.
So you need him as a true closer.
And then you work. You still got Parker Coyle, so you have another left-handed pitcher that you can bring out. Fish, before he got hurt, he did a lot of midweek starts, but he also came out of the bullpen, so he has that experience as coming out of the bullpen as a freshman. He's a freshman All-American. So he's still coming back too. He's another one coming off injury. He got off to a hot start, but maybe he just wasn't ready for that. And his body, despite mentally and physically appearing, but once you do it, maybe he's just fatigued and needs some rest. Maybe his thing is dead arm. Maybe his thing is people that figured him out. He's got to go back in the lab and figure out how to, counter what hitting coaches around the league have seen. But I think, you've got Brissy as an option. Peyton Lee, we've seen, I think, again, he may be more of an innings eater and not a guy that you really put in a high leverage position. But maybe he's maybe one of those guys that can help save. He and McGuire, I think, of two guys that potentially could be folks who save you, and Dossett would fall in this category too. If you're in a struggle and you're down 6 or 7 runs in the 7th inning, they save you and give you a chance to compete the next day.
Gotcha. Well, the Bama staff that we're going to be looking at over the weekend.
Yeah. These guys can throw.
Yeah.
The thing that jumped out to me, especially with Faye and Adams, I mean, interesting little side note that they have the same ERA. I double checked it against their team stats page. They do both have a 4.07. But I mean, look at Faye's whip. He doesn't walk anybody. Adams doesn't really walk anybody either. His are mostly hits. But they have good strikeout ratios both. Upchurch will walk you. He's the guy that if we're trying to steal a game on Sunday, man, you just got to preach discipline. You got to be patient. You got to be patient because he's a guy that will give you a chance, and because he can be wild around the plate. But Faye has been excellent, but he did get roughed up at Oklahoma, so he's coming off a poor start. He's going to be eager to get right. Bama is 18-1 at home. They're putting up numbers that we're used to seeing at Baum. So that is going to be a good environment. Hogs have struggled in Bama historically. A couple of years ago, we went down there. I think we were the number 1 team in the country that year, and dropped 2 out of 3. It's not a place that Arkansas has had a tremendous amount of success. So big pitching matchup, frankly, on Friday. Faye versus Dietz will be a big one. You'll see a lot of folks, a lot of scouts there, a lot of guns and tablets out on Friday night. And
you'll probably see a lot of swing and missing.
Probably, yeah. I mean, you're not going to see a lot of walks, that's for sure. Because we already looked at Dietz numbers. He doesn't put you on base. He has 14 walks on the year. He's going to make you earn it, and he's going to make you earn it with hitting worm burners and line drives and loopers. You're not going to. I mean, this will probably be the year he gives up 3 jacks, but that would be an outlier. Even on the 1 home run he gave up was a bit of a fluke. That ball is so heavy coming out of his hand, and people just have a hard time elevating it.
Well, I don't like the matchup of a team that's not patient, that swings and misses a lot against dudes that throw strikes.
Yeah,
go after you.
I mean, I would say that my counter to that would be, and we don't have the pitch chart, so we can't say for sure, but if we're swinging and missing out of the zone versus swinging and missing in the zone.
Yeah.
I know for a fact, we've talked about this a lot, both here and just privately, with Pompey and Cahillo in particular. Man, if you throw a bender on the outside edge, they're going to swing at it.
They're going for it.
They're not missing in the zone as much. So if you've got guys who are strike throwers.
That actually is a really good point, because if you throw strikes at Cahillo, he'll connect. He will.
He's going to hit your fastball if you're throwing it for a strike. Now, if you have a curveball that he has to be careful about, but he knows you're not going to throw it for a strike, maybe he sees break and he just doesn't swing. That would. But again, you got to change habits in a hurry, and that's hard for anybody to do.
Well, hate to even ask. Predictions over the weekend?
Yeah, I'm not going to get in that business this year for a while until we figure out. But I will say this: I think that this is, you know, uh, I don't think this is a make or break weekend. I think next weekend, maybe when Georgia comes to
Mm,
Fayetteville, you can't lose that series. If you win this series, you feel like maybe they're figuring it out. Well, you want to see, and I saw Dave quoted saying something similar this weekend about this weekend. It's like you want the wins, obviously. You can't get too far behind. If you want to make the I think hosting is a pipe dream at this point. You want to get in the tournament right now, so you want to get the wins, but you also want to see guys having better at bats. You
yeah,
want to see pitchers competing.
let's
If
figure
you
it
get
out.
one up and you lose a 2-1 game because the other guy was locked
So
in,
be it.
that's baseball. But you don't want to give them away on the bases. You don't want to run yourself out of innings. You want to take your pitches, take your walks, and you don't want to kick the ball around the field. Like you have to play better defensively. No, I don't think Dave has ever had a team make it to Omaha that played this poorly defensively. Um, like you have to do it. And so we opened up time like, what do we do well? Historically, this team has pitched and played defense, and we're not doing either at an elite level right now. If you can move back up to where this team is accustomed to operating, you can live with the poor offense and hope some guys figure it out because you're going to be
We've
hanging around in
done
games.
it in the past.
Yeah. I mean, hell, we went to Omaha, what was it, 12-13 against South Carolina it was it was the BB core era, it was the dead bats, but, pitching was dynamite. And we didn't hit very well, but by God, we were going to make you earn every run.
Yeah.
And that's what we kind of anticipated coming into this year because there are all these new pieces offensively we just didn't know about. We've talked about this before about hitting in the portal, and we haven't done that this year like we did the previous year. Um, but we haven't hit in the we haven't hit on the pitching, which is where we expected to be elite. And Dietz has definitely stepped up, but
Sure.
Gak and Gibbler have got to kind of reemerge as reliable pieces.
I think we have to see Gak. We have to see Gibbler. We need to get Reese healthy again. I think at that point, let's see where we are.
Yeah, I mean, you want to play well this weekend. You'd like to get to win a game. You'd love to steal the series. Um, you want to get home. We go to UAPB, I think, in Little Rock or North Little Rock on Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
and then Georgia on the
Mm-hmm.
weekend. Uh, that's really where this team has to decide if it's going to compete or this is just going to be play out the string. Because we'll be halfway through after this weekend. We're halfway through the SEC schedule, and you still have Oklahoma, you still have Kentucky, and you still have Georgia. Plus I think Missouri and I'm blanking on the other team that we're playing this season still, but the Ole Miss. So you still got the the second half of the season is not as tough as the first, but it ain't a cakewalk. And
No,
if you're
and
not playing well, you're not playing well.
I think your point is right. This weekend doesn't make or break you, but next weekend will probably one way or the other.
Yeah, and I mean, it also we could come back next week and say, well, we took 2 out of 3. Numerically on the just based on where we are in the standings. If we're 7-8 going into the second half, if you lose 2 out of 3 to number 3 or 5 team in the country, whatever Georgia will be when they get here, you know, no big deal.
Yeah.
But because you go to Missouri next and you hope you can maybe get right there. But you lose 2 out of 3 or get swept this weekend, boy, Georgia, that turns into a must-win weekend.
All right, buddy. I appreciate it. Another good one.
Yeah, hopefully we start to see some improvement. I didn't think we'd be saying that mid-season about this
No.
team, but if you see some improvement, give us something to believe in. We've got a hell of a good coaching staff. They won a good many games over there. I trust that they'll keep working to figure it out. We just need the guys to start executing.
Yeah. All right, Brett. Until next week.
All right, buddy. See y'all.
Have a good one.